Hey there my lovelies, and welcome to my booktube channel, just as the Library Fox. My name is V, and today I decided to go for a discussion video. I remember that I haven't done one of these for ages, so I figured why not go for it. Today I'm feeling very salty, so that's usually the best time to go for videos like that. So yeah, that's what we're going to do. And this time around, I'm going for the special edition of my 5 bookish pet peeves regarding reviews. And yeah, I often see other people's reviews, I read other people's reviews, and every once in a while there are things I don't like about those reviews, or things that make me feel a little bit conflicted about the reviewer themselves. So I figured I might go for 5 examples of my bookish pet peeves when it comes to reviews. I'm very curious if a lot of people will see it the same way, or if you have a different opinion when it comes to things like that. But I guess we will only find out if we start talking about them. So I got my coffee at the ready. Nothing better than coffee for a discussion video like that. You might grab your own coffee or tea or soft drink or whatever you want to drink while watching my video. You can drink with me. And without further ado, let's just jump into those 5 bookish review things I feel very conflicted about and don't like to see. So the first thing I wrote down here is rating a book before it's released, or rating it without reading it. And yeah, this is something I totally can't understand. How books that aren't even out yet, that have a release date in 2025 or so, are already rated by some people. People rate them without knowing what the book is about. Usually there's not even a blurb or a book cover, so why give those books a rating if you haven't read the book? And in general, rating books you haven't read is not good, because you never know what's written in the book. You have no idea if you will like it or not. So I don't get it. Why would you rate a book without ever reading it, without knowing what it is about? And don't do that. Just don't do this. I don't get it. Especially, I mean, yeah, people might know authors like Sarah J. Maas, and you might have liked all her former books. But who says that you're going to like this particular one? You haven't read a single page, you don't even know the characters yet. So to rate those books without even knowing them, without having read them, is a red flag for me. I really don't like this, and I see this so often, and I don't get it. I don't know if I'm the only one or if you are with me, but I personally think that you should read a book before you rate it. Yeah, I would really love to hear your thoughts on this, because this is something that always makes me kind of angry. And sometimes, I mean, usually it's 5-star reviews without having read the book, but sometimes they give 1 star and basically cancel the book beforehand, which is already the second point, or brings me to the second point on my pet peeves list, and this is rating a book when you DNFd it. Okay, so I gotta say, and I will say that in advance, I never ever DNFd a book. I always read them until the very bitter end, even if I hate the book and really don't like it, which honestly, thankfully, doesn't happen all too often, because I know my reading tastes by now and can pick the right books for me. But every once in a while it will happen that I come to a book I don't enjoy or don't like as much as I thought I would, I still don't DNF it. I read it until the bitter end so I can write my review. And I know that's just a me thing. I know a lot of people are good at DNFing books, and you go. If you do this, perfect. You are my hero. Because I can't DNF a book. I've never been able to DNF a book yet. I don't know if I will ever get to the point where I DNF it, but if you can do that, you are my hero, because yeah, I can't do it. Anyway, the inner, I don't know, very correct person in me just can't stop reading a book once I started it. I always want to know how it ends, and even if the ending is shitty, I will read it. But people that DNF books, okay, I mean, I understand it if people have read about 50% or 70% of the book or more and DNF'd it, and then write a review about it, why they DNF'd it, and rate the book. I get it, I understand that, that's okay. But I also see reviews with people that DNF'd the book and only read about 10 or 12% of the book, and they rate it. So that's something I can't ignore, and I don't think it's okay to do that, because if you've read 20% or 12% of a book, the book barely even started. You don't know what will happen next. You have no idea if the book will get better or worse. Let's face it, some books really only start about the 50% halfway mark. I mean, I recently read Brandon Sanderson's The Final Empire, and an impatient person probably would have DNF'd it at 20% or so, or even at 40%. And they would have said it's very boring, there's so much world building, etc., etc. But this book only took off at about the 50% halfway mark. Brandon Sanderson is a well-known author, a lot of people love him, and I honestly could only see the appeal of this story once I got through all the info dump at the beginning and the plot actually started to thicken. So yeah, I personally dislike it if you DNF a book at about 10% and rate it and give it a 1-star or 2-star rating, because I think a lot of books only start about the halfway mark, and there are also books you or I would have rated very highly until the halfway mark, and then they got so weird and confusing and crazy that the last 50% of the book caused me to drop down the rating to 2 or 3 stars, or pause in my case. So it happens. It happened with a lot of books I read, and the first 50% about the book usually can't tell you if the ending will be amazing or if the beginning was better. I like to have the entire experience, and I personally would only rate a book if I would have read it as a whole and the entire book. If I would have DNF'd it, I would write why I DNF'd it, but I definitely wouldn't rate it, because I think that wouldn't be fair to the author. Yeah, maybe that's just a me thing, but I usually don't like to see those things on my feed. Okay, let's get to point number 3. Canceling a book before it's even released or referring to someone else's review. And I feel so salty about this. I feel so salty about this. Because ever since I joined the book community, I got more aware of new releases and new authors and people that release their first books and start with a series or with a standalone, and it's just the first work that's released into the world. And I got a lot or I noticed this a lot recently or in recent years, that some authors get cancelled before the book is even out because one or two people might have read the arc and they didn't like what they read in the arc. They make their own opinion, and those opinions, and even if it's just, I don't know, 2 people out of 20, which makes about 10%, those 10 negative percent are always more visible and always get way more attention than positive reviews. So that's one thing. People usually like to read negative things about the books too, because they want to know what they read about and what they don't like and what the person didn't like. So those 20% or 10% might get more attention than all the other reviews that said it's a good book and a well done book. So oftentimes authors get cancelled, or the books get cancelled before they even release them, because some people have problems or think the book is problematic because it doesn't tackle a certain topic. And I mean, okay, if you have that opinion, but you have to base it on something, and you have to talk about what you didn't like so that other people will understand it. And what I absolutely don't like, and this happens so often with books that get cancelled beforehand, or I saw it happening very often, is the fact that the opinion of a few people who actually bothered to write the review and made their thoughts clear is just retweeted or just reused, and people will write in their review they won't read a certain book, give it 1 star, and refer to another review. And quite honestly, no, just no. Because how can you, 1, rate the book with 1 star if you haven't even read it, and 2, base your opinion on someone else? I mean, if you are a reviewer, you should do your research and you should know what the hell you are talking about. And you can't just refer to a review that said the book isn't good because of that, and that. But who says you will have the same opinion when you read the book? Maybe you will read the book and will get out of it thinking, oh my god, it was so good and I don't even see the issues the other person mentioned. You can't just refer to a review without having read the book. And I mean, you can refer to other people's reviews if you are lazy. And quite honestly, I personally, and I'm salty here, I personally think it's very lazy to read a book and then refer to another review. Because quite honestly, either you just don't write a review and let it be, just give a rating, or don't write a review at all. But to refer to another review, no, just no. I mean, you gotta do the work yourself. And the other thing is, if you haven't even read the book, you shouldn't refer to other reviews and say they voiced your opinion, because you have no idea if your opinion of the book will actually be the same. So this is something that really annoys me no end. People referring to reviews even though they haven't read the book and saying, oh, they totally nailed it, 100% their opinion. I think they said it perfectly. If you haven't read the book, no way. You're losing your integrity if you do that. As a reviewer, I think as a reviewer, you have a responsibility to read the books and to review them and to let people know what you didn't like and what you liked about the book. And you have a responsibility to give them the tools to decide if they want to read the book as well or not. So I started out writing reviews for myself and doing reviews for myself because I wanted to know what I read, and even after years just look back at it and know what I liked and what I didn't like about the book. But the more people started to read my reviews and the more responses I got, the more responsible I got with my reading. I wanted people to know what I liked and what I didn't like, so that they could find what they liked and what they didn't like, and so that they could find out if the book would be for them or not. Anyway, getting way too much into detail here, but I just wanted to say that. Okay, pet peeve number 4. Speaking about the trigger warnings of a certain book and referring to them, but not mentioning them in your own review. And that's something I recently noticed with a lot of books. I want to read out of my comfort zone every once in a while. I mean, we all do. So I've been looking up certain books that I know will be out of my comfort zone. I think, I can't remember what it is called, this book, The Haunting of Adeline, I think, or so. And I looked this book up and I wanted to know the trigger warnings. And quite literally, if you look at Goodreads, about 80% of the reviews tell you that you should check out the trigger warnings before you pick up the book. But none of them actually mentions the trigger warnings, which I get. I mean, you don't want to spoil people, and sometimes trigger warnings are spoilers, but there is a function on Goodreads where you can mark spoilers, and then it just shows trigger warnings, and spoiler. And if you click on that spoiler, you see all the trigger warnings that should be in the book and that are mentioned in the book. And if you don't want to know the trigger warnings, you just don't click off the spoiler. But if you want to know them beforehand, that's a great tool to go for them, because you wouldn't spoil anything. People can decide if they want to know them or not and can just click on it. I always do this with my reviews because trigger warnings are very important, and you gotta warn your readers beforehand if something might trigger them and cause them to spiral or to be emotionally unsettled or become emotionally unsettled by certain things. So trigger warnings are very important. Another example for this is Verity. Verity by Colleen Hoover is one of the books where every review mentions be aware of the trigger warnings, but none of them actually mentions them. I had to look through I don't know how many reviews to finally find some trigger warnings. And yes, I wrote them in my review. You can click on them and you will know what happens in the book. So I always think it's very funny that people refer to trigger warnings and tell you to look up the trigger warnings, but don't mention them themselves. And then you have an entire review culture of people warning you from the trigger warnings, but no one actually mentioning them, and you have no idea what you're getting yourself into if you don't read the book. Yeah, that's kind of hilarious, honestly. I think that's so funny, because warning of trigger warnings and then not mentioning them is really such a weird thing, but it happens so often. I still don't know what is happening in Haunting Adeline, and I probably would have to read the book myself to know it, because yeah, check out the trigger warnings, but we didn't mention any of them. Yeah, feeling very salty about this. And last but not least, this video is a fun video. I should do that more often, just to rant about certain things. The last point, point number 5, is getting an arc of a book people are dying, literally dying to read, and then just write a 1-sentence review. Something like, it wasn't for me. Honestly, I've seen this about 1,000,000 and gazillion of times on Goodreads. People just get an arc of a book I was literally dying to get. I requested it, I got declined, and the publisher didn't want to give me a chance to read it beforehand, so I had to wait about a year until it was released to actually know what it is about, to read the book and to form my opinion. And then you see people that just got the arc from the publisher or the author, and they literally write one sentence and the book wasn't really for me. So, one, I have multiple problems with this. This is the kind of behavior I don't understand. I mean, one, the publisher gave you an early review copy. They trusted in you to write a good and well thought out review. And all you can think about is to write, I didn't like the book very much. So, okay, one sentence. What didn't you like? They don't even mention what they didn't like. They say just the book wasn't for me. So this is kind of, I don't know, I don't know how publishers react to reviews like that, because they trust you to read the book and to write a review about it, an honest review with your opinion, where you mention the things you like or didn't like, which worked for you or didn't work for you, so that other people will be able to gauge if this book is for them. I don't know, do they land on the publisher's blacklist or something like that? I honestly, if I would be a publisher or an author and I would give a review to someone, and an art copy at that, I would be so pissed if I would read this kind of review, just one sentence. And I also think it's so unfair to people like me. I mean, I'm an international blogger and reviewer, and it's a known fact that international bloggers and reviewers have a lot of disadvantages when it comes to, let's say, American reviewers or reviewers from the USA. It is the way it is. I mean, Goodreads promised us years ago that we will be able to take part in giveaways once again. They did that in 2018 or 19, I think. We have 2023 now, nothing changed. Giveaways are only open for American reviewers, and the rest of the world just has to accept it. Nothing was done for us, and nothing will be done for us regarding this. So that's just one example why being an international reviewer is harder than being one from America. And usually international reviewers don't get review copies or ARC copies that easily. So yeah, I think that's kind of horrible. If you are lucky enough to get an ARC and then not write a really proper review about it. You don't have to like the book, and if you don't like it, you phrase it in the right way and let people know what you didn't like, and the publisher will be okay with that. I mean, they want honest opinions after all, but not to write anything or just to write the book wasn't for you, but not mentioning why, what, and how. I think that's not fair to other reviewers that would literally die to get this book in their hands, and for you to get away with just writing that one sentence. So that's something I don't understand. I think it's kind of hardcore of those people. I mean, the odyssey to get an ARC and not write a review about it, even though the publisher expects you to, is already something. But it's also so unfair to all the other people that wanted to read that book and that never even got a chance. And yeah, I don't think that's okay. I hope publishers have a blacklist for people like that and won't give them a review copy or an ARC copy anymore, because it's just unfair to all the other reviewers that read the book, advertise it, want people to know what it is about, if it's good or not, what they thought about it. I mean, I write reviews and I put a lot of effort into them. I always mark my trigger warnings. I try to convey what I felt while I read the book. I try to make certain that the characters and the plot is covered. I put a lot of effort into my reviews. And just to see those reviews where people say, I didn't like the book, I got an arc. Yeah. I think it's not nice to do something like that. Yeah. Okay, so that was the last point of my bookish pet peeves when it comes to reviews. I don't know, do you agree with some of them? Do you have the same approach I do when it comes to writing reviews? How do you write your reviews? Have you ever DNF'd a book? Or can't you DNF books like I can't do it? I would really love to hear your thoughts on all the 5 things I just mentioned. I know it's a little bit of a salty video, but every once in a while I just need to let it out. I hope you don't mind. I hope I can start a nice and cultivated discussion here. And I would really love it to see you in the comments down below. So just leave me a comment and let's start discussing all my bookish pet peeves. Maybe you agree with some of them, or maybe you have an entirely different opinion about some of them. But either way, just let me know. I'm always up for a nice bookish discussion. Okay, and well, this said, I'm already at the ending of my video. I hope you enjoyed that one. And I guess there's nothing left to say except of take care, stay healthy and safe, and see you around the next time. Bye!